All right, perfect. So again, go to my YouTube, subscribe if you haven't done so yet. If today's class is a little bit too much for you, you want to watch this or watch my free trading course, which some of the content is on here, or you can register on my site and watch the basic content on there. Works for all markets. My throat is hurting, so if you hear me stop, it's because I'm drinking my tea, you guys. All right, let's get to it. And we're going to use gold as our guinea pig today, just so you know. But this is something that I've made that I love it. I think it's very straightforward. This is called the break and retest module for entries. We call it BART, B-A-R-T. And it's one of my favorite methods to enter a trade. Now, there are several ways that you can enter a trade. Some people are breakout traders. So, how many of you on here have taken my free course? If you've taken my free course, type a one. If you have not, type a two. This way, I at least know where we're at. All right, so for the most part, most of you have, a few of you have not. All right, cool. All right, if we can keep everything civilized on here, I'll keep the chat open. If we have any bad apples, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm gonna take it down. All right, three was not an option. All right, so when you are trading, we use something that we call market structure. Now, market structure is something like this. Let me show you. It's when the market is creating in a sell market or a bear market, it's when the market is creating lower highs and lower lows. And what we're looking for is essentially the market to, this is previous structure. What we're looking for is the candles to break that structure and hold, okay, which means close below it, and then come back and do some type of a retest. Now, write this down. For a sell, I like to see a U formed. And for buys, I like to see an N form. So let me show you real quick, just so you have both examples. You can see here we have like little N's that are forming. So I like to see U's for sells, N's for buys. Very simple. Those are the cleaner setups. So they're going to be different type of retests that I'm going to cover. But when I see the U or the N formed, that to me is a really nice indication that this is going to be a good, possibly a good trade. I will have to have other confirmations, but that is already a good sign. So you can see here where price does that and it creates a lower high. Same thing. Now it's not always going to come back to the previous structure perfectly. So just don't assume that it has to be textbook perfect because if you do, that's really going to mess you up in the future for your trading. And we don't want that to happen. What you're looking for is a U to form and it creating a lower high. So it will stop and it'll start going down. So you have to ask yourself, is this lower than the previous high? If the answer is yes, that means that you are in a trend. This is a continuation. And again, same thing here. Price breaks through that structure, it comes back and it does a retest. Now, I'm going to show you the bullish market, which is a buy. You can see where this is our previous structure. And what we're doing for a buy is we want to break the previous highs. So for the sells, we were trying to break the previous lows. For a buy, we're breaking previous highs. So we break and we land on top and we do quite a few jumps on there. So we create 1N, 2N, 3N, and then it finally pops up. The more it bounces on that level, the more patient you have to be, but the reward is going to be so much worth it. So if you are an experienced trader and you see this is happening to you in the markets, chill out. Like, don't be impatient. It is most likely going to give you a good setup. And if you allow your lack of discipline to kick in, you're going to exit your trade and then see it take off and be really mad at yourself because it did exactly what you thought it would. It just didn't do it when you wanted to. Have you ever experienced that? I know I have. I think we all have as a trader. And it's really frustrating because you were right. Like you were right on your analysis. You just didn't have the discipline and the patience. And it's like it's so frustrating, you know? And this is where you have to implement finding a hobby, finding a hobby and going to do something so that it can just do what it does and you're not sitting there watching it. and it feeling like you're watching paint dry. So for the buys, that's what we're looking for. Okay, so we're looking for the structure to be broken and a retest to occur. So that's what we're looking for. Now, when it comes to the retest, there are different types of ways that they can be identified. Right here was the one that I obviously showed, a break and a clear retest. You see the N, we're breaking the previous high, we're respecting that area, meaning the candles are landing on top. They're not going through it. So that means it's respecting that area. And it's giving us an indication that this is most likely going to go up. So this is an ideal setup. Then we have a smaller break and retest. So you guys can see where price breaks through and it lands on top, but it does not create a clear end. Do you guys see that? It's not as obvious, but it does break and it does land on top, and the candles stay above that previous high and they do not like close underneath. Are you all with me? All right, very good. Very, very good. Now, we have also something called a break and close, where you may enter a trade on it breaking out of the previous structure, but there's a huge possibility that it may come back down to do a retest later on. So if you are a breakout trader, one thing you have to keep in mind is that price could come back down. Sometimes it will keep going up or down depending on the direction that you're trading, but there's a huge possibility it could come back and do a retest. So if you are a bit impatient, or if this is just the module that you like to trade, you have to understand that you may see yourself in profit for a little bit, and then it'll come right back to break even, or maybe you have a little bit of drawdown before it goes back up. So the reason why I like the break and retest entry module is because it takes that away. When you are new and you're learning how to trade, your inability to control your emotions is completely normal. So when you're trading and you see yourself in profit, you're like, yes, yes, I see blue or I see green, depending on what you're trading. And then all of a sudden you start to see it come right back. So let's say you're up $10 and then you see it go all the way back down to $1. That can be very discouraging to you if you don't understand what the markets are doing. So I like to enter on retest to just take that away unless the market starts consolidating or moving sideways. There's not much I can do about it. But that takes that away from me so I don't have to go through the anxiety of seeing my trade be in profit, go right back at break even. And I usually get less drawdown when I enter trades and that happens. Okay, does that mean you need to change your entry module if you don't do this? No. But this is something that you need to be mindful of if you are trading breakouts, which is this type of trade. Now, this right here is a failed break and retest. So you can see where price breaks, it lands on top, but let me show you a little secret. If you look at this and you look at the bodies of all the candles, do you see how, and I know my line is here because I'm just acting like that's a level, but I want you to put an imaginary line here. Do you guys see where the bodies of all these candles, they're not breaking? Do you see this? Like, look, they're all in the same level. I don't know if you guys can see that. But I'll try to zoom in so you can see a little bit better. Oh, that's my dog. Sorry. Um, but what that is showing is price is really struggling. If price would have closed with like a nice big candle and hold above that, and the next candle holds above that, cool. Sometimes this is gonna happen. Like this is normal. Doesn't mean you're wrong, doesn't mean you're right, doesn't mean anything. You just have to be able to understand what's going on. So even though my level is here, I can see that price is creating its own resistance. So what I would do personally, if I was looking at this and I wanted to get into a trade, is that I would want to see price break that area instead and hold above it. If I see price hold above that, then I would feel more confident about entering the trade. Now, this trade ended up going the way that we wanted, but it was not that clear. So let's say you got in and you thought this was a break and retest and you're freaking out now because you see this candle. Don't worry because the support is like this is being respected. Okay, so this area is being respected. You're not breaking this low. You're fine. Don't freak out. Just give it time. You're gonna be wrong, you're gonna be right, but don't exit prematurely. So if you're one that exits your trades before like they even play out, you are doing yourself a disservice because you're never going to know if your strategy actually works because you're being too impulsive. So if you allow yourself to lose, That will help you understand what type of entry module you should use and how much risk should you actually be implementing in your trade. But if you keep exiting, even when you're in profit, whether you're losing or you're in profit, if you keep exiting prematurely, you are literally going to always not know and you're going to become the market's bitch. Literally, like now they got you. They got you because you have officially become a slave because now you have trust issues with the candles. You don't know what's going to happen. You trust yourself and you're not trusting your analysis and all the studying that you did and all your hard work. Does that make sense? I'm sure some of you are guilty of this. So, as tempting as it may be to want to hurry up and hop out of a trade, unless you are super advanced and you know, like, okay, I see what's about to happen. Like, if you're super advanced, that's a different story. But if you are new, you have to allow your trade to do what it does. Because let's say you're, for example, let's look at gold. All right. I'm looking at this buy. I'm going to notate the previous high. Oh, why didn't it do that? There we go. I did the wrong thing. Previous high, previous high, previous high. Wow, gold was beautiful. Okay. So this is me notating the previous high. This is basic market structure. This exercise is in my free course. So you can practice this if you don't know what this is. All right. Excuse me. Now, when I look at this, I can see that we're at least always breaking previous structure. So when we're in a trend, we are typically making a higher high with gold. Let's say that I'm freaking out, I get into trades and I'm like, oh no, let me exit right here. I'm just going to exit right here. And if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But let's say I get into the trade after this retest and all of a sudden I take this trade, I stop right here because I freak out, but then the trade continues to do this. Now I have to deal with the emotional part of beating up myself because that's what most people do, which you should not do, but that's what we do as humans. So you beat yourself up, you don't feel satisfied. You start to feel like you want a revenge trade because you're competitive and you're a go-getter and you're a winner and you think that your competitiveness is smart, but it's actually revenge trading. You now have to sit there and identify a new entry. You compromise the integrity of your trading strategy because your desperation and your emotions are kicking in. And now you don't have that good of an entry, and you just lost some of your profits from this trade because you got in on a crappy entry. Does that sound like anybody? It's one of the most frustrating feelings. And the fact that everyone on here is saying yes, I hope that you guys know, those of you that like to beat yourself up, that you are not alone. You understand? You are not alone. But if I'm sitting here and I'm telling you this and I'm telling you the psychological process, this is the process of becoming a trader. This is it. And the only way you're going to get good is having conversations with yourself and saying enough is enough. I need to stop repeating the same mistake. Back testing will help you, and forward testing what you've back tested is going to give you the confidence that you need. So after you've back tested, you have to write a plan and then you have to implement it so you can see what needs to be refined and what you need to keep. And once you keep doing that, your confidence is going to be out the roof. Like you're going to be amazing, okay? So we can see here again, here is a small break and retest. Price respected this area and it did not fall through. You guys see that? Okay. This one right here, I had nothing to retest, so I would have not counted that. But again, a small N. So these are small little N's. If you look at gold on the 15 minute on an uptrend, it does like to make small N's at the break of structure. So the retest when structure is broken is much smaller than the obvious retest. You guys see how there's like the big retests that occur, but at structure, these are smaller. So if I'm trading gold on the 15 minute, I want to be mindful of that so that I'm not looking for a major N if I'm looking to trade the break of structure and waiting for it to retest. Are you with me? And you guys, this can be done on all markets. All markets. I know I heavily promote stock options, but this is gold. And if you trade futures, it's the same thing with GC. You can do this with crypto. You can do this with anything. Okay? Now let's look at the downtrend. So the downtrend, what I'm looking for are previous lows. Okay? So this one's a little bit, it's gold. It's not going to be perfect, but here's my down. Well, did it do that? Yeah. This one's ugly, but there's nothing we can do about it. All right? Downtrend. Oops. Downtrend. No, downtrend. Okay? So when we look at gold on a downtrend in a 15 minute, it looks like it likes number one, breaking closes, but this one makes U's. So the U's that are being formed are that means that your entry is going to take a little bit longer for that setup. These were quick. These were like 45-minute retests. So after you got a break of structure, it took 45 minutes. So basically it took an hour for the setup to occur, and then it took about an hour and a half for the trade to play out for the most part. Over here, you have a break of structure at 8:30, but you don't get your retest until the afternoon. So if you see that you're in a bearish trend on the 15 minute, that is something to keep in mind. Let's say you trade this little bitty move right here, you know there's a possibility it's going to come back and do a retest, and that retest is going to take a few hours, but it does pay off very nice. Okay, there's a little low right here. I didn't see this. But you can see here, break at 7:45 p.m., retest at 9:15. So it took about almost 2 hours for that retest to occur. Right here, break. Okay, that break was at 10:15 p.m. It didn't come back and retest to London session in the morning. Okay, same thing here, short. This is London session, break, London session, retest, double retest, and then look at this small one. This is a small break and retest during NY session, New York session. So for the most part, if you're trading it during Tokyo session, you're going to get your pullback during London session, like a big pullback during London session in a downtrend. And it takes a little bit longer for that to occur. So you may want to implement using limit orders, okay? Or you may want to possibly consider breakout trades for this. It just depends on what you prefer. So I want you guys to go back to whatever it is that you're trading, and I want you to sit there and identify the break and retest. Now, I'm showing you this in a trend. Okay, so this is being shown to you in a trend. Let's look at it from a perspective of drawing levels. So market structure is when we are continuing with trends. All right, so I'm going to exit this replay. We just have NFP, so we should have been bearish. Yeah, perfect. All right. So let's say I'm on the 1 hour. I can see immediately there's a gap right here. Do you guys see that? Everybody see that gap? It's in my YouTube. I do talk about how to trade gaps. So right here, we can see that 1, 2, 3, 4 times price has rejected this gap. Let me do this, and let me do this for those that are, oh, there we go. Price has rejected this gap and gone down. So number one, I didn't even need NFP to tell me that this was going to go down because the historical pattern has told me what's going to happen, right? So if I draw a level right here where price has hit, I can see U, big U, little u, right? Huge U, 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 and price stayed underneath. Now, if you're in my advanced classes, you know the candles told us beforehand what was going to happen, right? But now we're approaching a level, all right? Respect, respect, respecting. So in order for me to get into a continuation here, I need to see price break it, retest, and then I can take it to my next area of interest. There. Is this making sense to you guys? So it doesn't always have to be market structure, but it could be levels. So let's look at it from the upside. The same level for downward momentum, if we look at it from the upside, do you see price broke and retested it? Right here. It's the same thing we talked about. It's this entry right here. It's not the big N, it's the little n. But it still did it. It still respected it. Break, retest. Down here, break, retest. Break, retest. So even with levels, it works. Now, the higher the time frame, the longer you may have to wait for the setup to occur, but it works. So it works with structure and it works with levels. You can see here, sorry, it's crooked. Here's support, 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 support. We break, we do a small retest, but we come back and we do a much bigger retest, and then it goes all the way down. So if you start to understand those two, you know what to look for. It's going to take other confirmations to get into the trade, but at least start understanding what to look for to get into the trade. We had the setup with gold, right? It did the big U, but then if I take this, let's just take this to the 15-minute, right? If I want to refine this entry, where is it? Bam. Here's my low. There's plenty of them, but let me show you. Oh, yeah, yeah. This is right before, right? Look, this is structure on the 15-minute on gold. Break, retest, break, retest. The candle right before news told us what was going to happen. We already saw it on the higher time frame. We looked on the higher time frame. We saw price rejected this gap multiple times. Price created a U on the higher time frame, letting us know that it's most likely going to go down. I went on the smaller time frame on the 15-minute. I found market structure to see if it would be respected. Not only did it respect it once, but it respected twice. And then it shot down right to that level in the higher time frame. Do you guys see this? Is it clicking? All right. Does anyone have any questions? So I have a Q&A. You can ask questions on there, or if you want to ask in the chat. Yes, price action confirmed. This is not a price action class, so that's why I'm not talking about that. But yes, very good observation. Oh, thank you, Yara. I appreciate y'all. So what I want you guys to do, I have a free Telegram group. I know it's in the link in my YouTube. So there's in my YouTube right here. Is it in there? Yeah, it's the free trading course, and then the first option is there's a link in there for it. Um, but for those of you that know this, please don't submit your work. Please save me my sanity, okay? But for those of you that are new and you want to try this out, I'm gonna make a section for entry submissions, like homework submissions. I would love for you to go to whatever it is that you trade and just see if you can identify those N's and those U's. And now I told you pretty much what to look for on a higher time frame if you're looking to trade news. So what's the difference between levels and market structure? I have an amazing video on Instagram about this. Market structure is used to determine if we're going to have a continuation in the trend. So market structure is what's used to help us determine if we're going to keep going up or if we're going to keep going down. Levels can be used in a sideways market and or whatever. It can be used in anything, but it's not used to be determined if we're going to create new highs or lows. It's just a matter of you drawing a level to sit there and determine like, okay, the market has respected this area multiple times. If it breaks this, I should look for an entry. Or the market stops here all the time. So if I'm in this trade, let me go ahead and exit my position here because it's a strong level of support and it's respected it multiple times. So one shows you continuation in trends, one shows you where to stop and where to possibly enter. Okay. When you're doing market structure, it also helps you compound. So something I do, I trade, I swing, and then I also compound on market structure. So I'll get into like a long-term trade from like here all the way to here. And every time new structure is formed, I add new positions and I just hold them until they reach my long-term position. Because for me, what's the point of me looking for a whole bunch of trades to get in when I'm already in a winning trade? I just I wait for it to compound and give me a setup and I profit off of already like a trade that's winning. So if you go to my IG, I'll post it in my stories after this class so you can watch it. Good question. All right, guys. So screenshot this. Hold on, let me make it. Screenshot it so you have it. Go look and identify and check to see if whatever you trade, does it respect market structure better for entries or does it respect levels or does it do both? If it does both, that's a really good sign. You should probably keep trading it. Gold being one of them. I'm not telling you to trade gold. I'm just telling you it does that. All right, guys. I hope this provides some clarification for identifying break and retests. I will have this up on YouTube very shortly. And you have a beautiful and amazing holiday and weekend. Bye, guys.